We've got time, and we've got one more caller.
Okay.
Is it Esadio in Iowa?
Yes, Esadio. Hello, Matt.
Esadio, hi. I'm sorry for mispronouncing that. Yeah, Esadio, you're on with John and Matt. I'm sorry I mispronounced your name.
That's fine, man. It happens a lot. It's no big deal. But I just want to let you know I've been listening to you for about 2 years, and you have really taught me a lot. And one of the question I have for you is, what is some of the information that you read that helped you escape, this, and helped you help other people escape this idea of, God and Jesus Christ and all that, because I'm in a position to where I feel like I can help some people, and, I just wanted to know some information. If you have some information you can you can give to me,
Yeah, and I'd also like to hear John's answer to this as well, but I'll go first, then we'll let John close it up. For me, I thought that God was punishing me. I thought that God had wanted me to be a pastor. My folks thought that. The people in my church thought that. They even came to a recent debate. Yeah. And so I set out to do that. And I had a roommate who was an atheist, and I was like, wow, what happens if I get to heaven? And God's like, why didn't you talk to him? He's burning in hell. You love that guy like a brother. And he's struggling with COVID-19 right now. And my warm thoughts and feelings go out to him, even though warm thoughts and feelings are as useless as hopes and prayers. But I basically found out that a lot of the things that I'd been taught that were just true clearly weren't just true. And so it wasn't that I've proved Christianity false or proved any of that, any specific part of the doctrine was false. It was that I began to understand that Christianity had never demonstrated itself to be true. That the various claims of God exists or God created things, none of those things had ever been demonstrated. They're just believed. And if these are the most important things ever, if these are the most important things ever, like if a God exists and there's another life, this has to be the most important question. And that means that if there's a God, that God has a duty and a responsibility to make sure that it is clear to everyone that this life is some sort of test to determine where you're going to spend eternity. And no God has ever made that clear to me or to anybody else that I can identify with. That is the one thing that clearly demonstrated Christianity cannot be true as I was taught it and as people believe it. Whether or not some other God exists, I don't know, but they all seem to suffer from a similar absence, which is why the argument for divine hiddenness is probably, I think, the best argument against theism. And it was little doses of that over about a year and a half that led to me recognizing I was no longer a Christian, I was no longer a theist, and I was an atheist. John, how'd you go?
That's a very interesting answer, and I love it.
Thank you. Let's have John get in here.
A different angle to look at it. All right.
Yeah. Well, so I guess my mind works a bit analytically. So basically, I was challenged at one point in time as to whether or not I was a true Christian, being that I believed in the Bible, front to back, cover to cover. If I didn't, then I wasn't a true Christian, and at that I already knew immediately that I wasn't true Christian according to my friend's definition, because I didn't believe the Bible was absolutely true cover to cover. And so I had to figure out then what I believed in. And my general method for trying to figure out what I actually believed in was I went more analytically about it, and I would only accept something if I had reasonably good evidence to suggest that I should believe that thing. And I basically just applied the same thought process that I do to, other areas of my life to a belief in God, because I had just simply never done that before. Because growing up, I live in North Alabama, and belief in God is just kind of the norm around here, and so I was never questioned whether or not God exists. It was always just sort of like one of those known facts that you are taught from an early age. And so once I actually started applying the same kind of strict evidentially based thought processes that I applied to other things in my life, that's when I finally came to the conclusion that I just simply didn't find any evidence that I should believe in a God. And that was a really difficult hurdle to get over for me personally, because I felt like, I wasn't right or correct, or I was insanely wrong in some aspect to not believe in a God. Like, it felt wrong to me to not believe in a God. So it took a lot for me to get over that particular hurdle. But what got me there was just applying the same kind of evidentially based thought process to other, other things in my life.
That's so important,
Okay.
John. Esadio,
Yes,
what John just said is so incredibly important, because when his intellect was comfortable with rejecting a belief that didn't have evidence, the religion itself still had a protective hold on him to make him think that it would be wrong to follow the evidence where the evidence led. And this is the peer pressure of voluntarily putting yourself from the in-group to the out-group. That takes a great deal of courage and comfort to say, you know what? I could just stay here and believe, and I know it feels wrong, but I have to follow the evidence. And if there is a God and any of this is true, then surely someone will be able to present the evidence. And yet every preacher, every apologist, every caller who has ever called The Atheist Experience, The Line, or any other show that I've been involved with or watched, who's made an attempt to argue for the existence of God, has presented fallacious arguments, appeals to faith and emotion, or just bald-ass assertions that it's true. And none of those things are the foundation upon which we should be making decisions, especially the most important decision you could possibly make, were it to be true.
Right. I totally agree, Matt.
We thank you so much for the call, Esadio. We're glad we got to your stuff. We're just about out of time. I'm going to go ahead and let you go.
Hey, thanks for checking out this clip for The Line. While you're here, hit that like button, hit subscribe, turn on notifications, and then share this with that bitter uncle of yours who loves talking about the good old days.